The Triple H and the WWE fooled all of us, and it was this master plan all along.
WWE's empire is crumbling from the inside, and what Triple H just did will shock you to your core. The monster among men, Braun Strowman, has been brutally cut from WWE after Triple H tried to slash his 7-figure salary down to scraps. But it's not just Strowman. This is the beginning of WWE's systematic destruction of their own roster. And the reason why will make your blood boil. Triple H didn't just fire Braun Strowman, he executed him, and will reveal the backstage power struggle that led to this carnage, the exact salary figure that made Triple H pull the trigger, and why this mass execution of talent signals the end of WWE as we know it. We'll also expose the shocking memo that predicted this roster bloodbath months before it happened. For over a decade, Braun Strowman was WWE's unstoppable monster. From flipping ambulances to headlining WrestleMania, the monster among men generated billions in revenue for WWE. His merchandise flew off the shelves. His matches broke attendance records. He was the face that launched 1,000 storylines. And how did Triple H repay that loyalty? By putting a target on his back the moment his salary came up for renegotiation. Here's what WWE doesn't want you to know. Braun Strowman was on a $1.2 million per year guaranteed contract, which doesn't include bonuses for merch, video games, and other extra bits and bobs. That contract was signed in 2019, back when WWE actually valued their homegrown superstars. But in 2025, Triple H looked at that number and saw dead weight. According to backstage sources, when Strowman's contract came up for renewal, Triple H didn't just lowball him, he insulted him. The offer? Cut his salary by more than half. Take it or leave it. No negotiation, no respect for what he'd built. Just corporate brutality disguised as business. He is the one that the salary was high, Meltzer stated. Translation: Strowman became too expensive for Triple H's new vision, a vision that prioritizes cheap, disposable talent over proven superstars. But here's where it gets really twisted. He was released once before in June 2021, only to return in 2022 as Triple H began reshaping the roster. Triple H personally brought Strowman back. He made promises. He painted a picture of a new WWE where talent would be valued and respected. It was all a lie. When Triple H took over creative control from Vince McMahon, he sold the wrestling world a fantasy. He was the savior, the guy who understood wrestlers, the man who would treat talent with dignity and respect. The WWE Universe bought it, hook, line, and sinker. But behind closed doors, Triple H was planning the most ruthless cost-cutting campaign in WWE history. In the wake of WWE's surprise wave of talent cuts on May 2nd, 2025, which saw the departure of high-profile names like Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, and others. This wasn't a surprise. This was a calculated execution. Triple H had been building his hit list for months. And the most sickening part? Triple H directly involved in deciding WWE roster cuts, sources claim. This wasn't TKO Group pulling strings from corporate. This wasn't some faceless executive making spreadsheet decisions. This was Triple H, the so-called wrestler's wrestler, personally deciding who lived and who died. Think about that. The man who built his career on loyalty, on brotherhood, on being one of the boys, was sitting in boardrooms drawing red lines through the careers of people who trusted him. On May 2nd, 2025, Triple H unleashed his fury on the WWE roster. In what can only be described as professional wrestling's red wedding, he systematically executed talent that had given him everything. Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, Braun Strowman, Cora Jade, Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, Jakara Jackson, Riley Osborne, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Wolfgang, Oro Mensah, and Javier Bernal, all gone in a single blood-soaked afternoon. But here's what makes this betrayal so gut-wrenching. These weren't faceless nobodies. These were wrestlers who believed in Triple H's vision. They trusted him. They turned down better opportunities because they thought WWE was their home. Take Dakota Kai. She was Triple H's golden child in NXT, a trailblazer who helped build the women's evolution. When she got injured, Triple H personally assured her that her spot would be waiting when she returned. He lied. After years of loyalty, after sacrificing her body for the company, she got a phone call. "Thanks for everything. You're fired." And Shayna Baszler, the Queen of Spades who dominated NXT for over 400 days as champion, Triple H convinced her to move to the main roster with promises of championship gold and marquee storylines. Instead, she was relegated to meaningless matches and forgotten feuds. Then, when her salary came up for review, executed. While choosing which stars to keep and which to cut likely involves multiple officials, Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp made it clear Triple H wields a lot of authority. This wasn't corporate interference. This wasn't budget mandates from above. This was Triple H personally deciding who lived and who died in his WWE. But the most heartbreaking story, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. These young women weren't just tag team partners. They were best friends who came up through NXT together. They were promised a future as the face of WWE's women's tag division. Triple H split them apart with the callousness of a butcher. Their dreams, their friendship, their careers, all sacrificed on the altar of Triple H's ego. This was always the likely outcome with an influx of developmental talent and rising base salaries, now up to $350,000 for main roster stars. Blaming TKO alone while absolving HHH ignores reality. Translation: Triple H is systematically replacing wrestlers who have stories, who have passion, who have connections with the audience, with nameless, faceless, soulless developmental talent who will work for scraps and never question his authority. Several rumors suggest some of the company's employees are allegedly unhappy due to heavy workload and less pay. But it's not just about money, it's about respect. It's about treating human beings like disposable products instead of the artists and athletes they are. But the mass executions are just the tip of the iceberg. Because while Triple H was busy destroying careers, he was simultaneously poisoning WWE's creative well from the inside. Ludwig Kaiser was building momentum, getting over with the crowds, connecting with audiences in a way that felt organic and real. Triple H took one look at Kaiser's rising stock and crushed it. He fed him to bigger names, buried his storylines, and threw away months of character development like it was yesterday's garbage. This is the pattern. Triple H builds someone up just enough to make them useful, then discards them the moment they start developing any independence or creative voice. But here's where it gets truly sinister. There was a feeling that some wrestlers could get a push from the Triple H-led creative team. That feeling was manufactured. Triple H dangled hope in front of desperate wrestlers like a carrot on a stick, knowing full well he had no intention of following through. But behind closed doors, wrestlers are crying. They're having panic attacks. They're questioning whether they chose the wrong profession. Because when you've dedicated your life to this business, when you've sacrificed everything to chase the dream of performing on WWE's biggest stages, and then the person in charge treats you like a line item on a budget spreadsheet, it breaks you. Emotionally, spiritually, completely. What Triple H has done to WWE isn't just cost-cutting. It isn't just business. It's the systematic annihilation of everything that made professional wrestling magical. He's taken wrestlers who grew up watching WrestleMania, who dreamed of holding championship gold, who wanted to inspire the next generation, and he's turned them into fearful, desperate employees begging for scraps. Cora Jade was barely starting her career. She had decades of potential ahead of her. Triple H looked at this young woman's dreams and crushed them without a second thought. Not profitable enough, gone. Gigi Dolan was part of one of NXT's most compelling storylines. Fans invested emotionally in her character development. Triple H threw that away like trash because it didn't fit his narrow vision of what WWE should be. And the tag teams? Katana Chance and Kaden Carter weren't just partners. They were a symbol of friendship, perseverance, and shared dreams. Triple H destroyed that bond for no other reason than to prove he could. This isn't business strategy. This is cruelty for the sake of cruelty. Power flexing for the sake of power flexing. Triple H isn't saving WWE. He's destroying its soul and dancing on the grave. But why is Triple H so desperate to slash payroll? Because WWE's financial situation is far worse than they're letting on. Sure, they'll brag about their Netflix deal and their Saudi Arabia partnerships, but behind the scenes, they're hemorrhaging money on failed projects, bloated executive salaries, and a development system that produces more busts than stars. the NXT expansion has cost hundreds of millions. The attempt to build a global empire has resulted in massive overhead with minimal return. And their streaming revenue? It's a fraction of what they projected when they killed the WWE network. So what does a desperate company do? It cannibalizes its own talent roster. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select has recently reported that these stars, including Braun Strowman and Dakota Kai, have been released from WWE by Triple H. This isn't just about one or two big names. All 38 WWE exits in 2025 revealed as two huge stars confirm imminent departures, 38 wrestlers, in less than 7 months. But here's why Braun Strowman's departure is different from all the others. It's not just that he was a main event talent. It's not just that he was a former Universal Champion. It's what his release represents. Strowman was Triple H's guy. When Triple H took over, he personally called Strowman and convinced him to return. He promised him featured storylines, championship opportunities, and long-term security. Strowman turned down offers from other promotions because he believed in Triple H's vision. But here's the real reason Strowman had to go. He represented the old WWE, the WWE, where superstars could become larger than life, where characters mattered more than corporate synergy, where wrestlers could build their own brands and demand their worth. Triple H doesn't want superstars. He wants employees, replaceable, disposable, controllable employees who will work for peanuts and smile while doing it. Strowman's walkout has already started the avalanche. Multiple sources confirm that at least 6 other main roster superstars have requested meetings with management about their contracts, not to renegotiate, to explore their options. Because if WWE will disrespect Braun Strowman, a former Universal Champion who sold millions in merchandise and drew countless fans to arenas worldwide, then nobody is safe. But here's what Triple H didn't count on. Wrestlers have had enough. The fear is turning into rage. The desperation is becoming determination. And the systematic abuse is finally sparking a rebellion that could tear WWE apart from the inside. Multiple sources confirm that secret meetings have been happening, not just contract discussions, revolt planning. Wrestlers are organizing. They're sharing horror stories. They're realizing that Triple H's promises were all lies and his vision is actually a nightmare. And it's not just the released talent who are angry. The wrestlers still under contract are furious. They've watched their friends get executed. They've seen talented performers discarded like garbage. They know they could be next. Remember when Scarlett Johansson sued Disney for betrayal? That was one person fighting a corporation. This is different. This is an entire locker room questioning whether they want to work for a man who views them as expendable commodities. Tony Khan has been quietly building relationships with disgruntled WWE performers. He knows that when talented wrestlers are treated like garbage by their employers, they become highly motivated to prove their worth elsewhere. And Triple H is making it easy for him. Every callous release, every broken promise, every wrestler who gets buried despite their talent, it's all feeding directly into AEW's talent pool. But here's the most damaging part of Triple H's reign of terror. It's not just that he's driving current talent away, it's that he's destroying WWE's reputation as a place where wrestlers can build their dreams. Young performers coming up through the independent scene used to see WWE as the ultimate goal. Now, they're looking at what happened to Dakota Kai, to Shayna Baszler, to Braun Strowman, and they're thinking, why would I want to work for someone who destroys careers for sport? Triple H isn't just killing WWE's present, he's murdering its future, and the wrestling world is watching it happen in real time. But it's not just the wrestlers who are turning against Triple H. The WWE universe is waking up to what's really happening. Social media has been flooded with #BringBackBraun campaigns. Fans are canceling their Peacock subscriptions. Arena attendance for live events has started to decline in key markets. Because wrestling fans aren't stupid. They can see through corporate spin. They know the difference between necessary business decisions and disrespectful cost-cutting. And they're tired of watching their favorite superstars get thrown away like yesterday's trash. Both superstars were fan favorites, and their departures elicited many reactions from the WWE universe. These aren't just casual complaints, these are passionate fans questioning whether WWE still represents what they fell in love with. And when you lose the fans, you lost.